Senator Fleischer was White House press secretary for President George W. Bush. We're pleased to have him here. Welcome.
Good morning.
So as a Republican, how do you measure, if any, the defining of Mitt Romney during this period by these attacks?
Well, there's an easy way to measure, and that's polls. And what we know is since Mitt Romney won the nomination, despite almost $100 million of ads thrown at him by the Obama campaign, he's cut the gap in half. He's down by about 2 points in the average of all polls, which really means the race is neck and neck.
And does the candidate, the soon-to-be candidate after the nominating conventions, plan to, at some point, begin to do something different than what he's doing now?
Well, doing something different, I think if you look again at the polls, Charlie, that's of registered voters. When you actually go to the more likely voters, the ones who are more intense about the race, he's winning. So I think Mitt Romney is actually getting no credit for running what's been a very smart, sensible campaign, trying to keep the focus on the economy, when you have an incumbent who's going to do everything he can not to talk about his failed record on jobs and debt.
Let me ask you about something. You know, Charlie Cook, who we all respect, someone who watches these elections very closely, just has a column out last night that said the attacks on Bain, outsourcing, and his investments are sticking to Romney like Velcro, and it's hard to see how that will change until he picks his running mate. There is some polling evidence that the Bain attacks are working. I mean, and you see panic within the Republican Party. You've got to acknowledge that.
Well, there have been a couple people who have spoken out about it, but Nora, this strikes me as one of those call it Velcro issues where everybody has a different opinion about it. If you go into a poll and you say, does this make you more likely or less likely? People will say less likely, but it doesn't drive voter behavior, especially in 2012 when the economy is such an overarching, overriding issue. It reminds me a lot of 1992. I worked for George Bush's father's campaign then. We did everything we could to make an ethical case against Governor Bill Clinton of Arkansas. No one really cared. It was all about the economy. It was all about jobs. Same type of cycle this year. I just don't see it sticking.
But the Democrats would argue this is exactly about the economy, that Mitt Romney's case is that he is Mr. Fix-It, that he's the guy to fix the economy, but his record shows, you know, as their tagline in their ad says, that he's not the solution, he's the problem. Look at how he's run his business in the past.
Well, and that's a fair comparison. Let's take it on there. And as governor of Massachusetts, he came in and had a state with a deficit, turned it around, and left with a surplus and a rainy day fund. He created jobs in Massachusetts as well, a net plus in jobs, none of which President Obama can claim as the man who's presided over this country's economy for 4 years now, almost 4 years. So that's a fair fight. That's a fight Mitt Romney wins. The president does not want to engage in an actual fight over the status of the American economy today. It makes it personal.
You've been around politics enough to know that they would not be doing this if they did not have some kind of internal polling saying it was working.
Charlie, I don't think they have any other card to play. They wouldn't be doing this if they had policies they could run on or success on the economy, which is the issue that drives everybody. They have Osama bin Laden's death. That, to their credit, is their biggest success, and I praise them for it. But that's it. Well, they don't have anything.
Of course, as you know, the tagline is General Motors is alive and Osama bin Laden is dead.
And Fiat's been outsourced, and Chrysler's been outsourced to Fiat.
Outsourcing as an issue, the president been on campaign talking about that. Does that connection to Bain, notwithstanding the fact that he was in the Olympics, do damage to this? And as they define him as someone, and try to define him someone who's out of touch.
The whole thing about outsourcing, I get the politics of it, and both President Obama and Mitt Romney can fairly be accused of doing their share of outsourcing. As I just indicated, President Obama sold Chrysler on the pennies for the dollar to an Italian company. They're no longer an American company.
Why do you think why do you think he sold it to an Italian company? Why was
because here's the point I'm about to make. When you look at it from an economic point of view in terms of what's best for the American people, Americans are going to create jobs in other countries are going to create jobs in America.
So outsourcing is okay, you think, in terms of how the governor looks at it?
The economy flows in both directions, and that's why I think both candidates are cheapening the economic argument here by trying to score political points. I have a brother-in-law who works for Honda in Indiana. He's an assembly line worker there. That's an American job created by a foreign company that outsourced.
Let me ask you,
want to do it both
directions? This is simple. Do you think it was a good idea for Fiat to buy Chrysler and perhaps save them jobs when they couldn't find any other person to buy it or any other company to buy it at the time?
No, but if my attack on Fiat and Chrysler is invalid, then all of President Obama's on Mitt Romney are invalid as well. That's the point I'm making. It goes both directions. But what you have is President Obama, who ran and said, we don't want to build an economy on the sand. We want to build it. He cited Scripture on a solid foundation. He's doing everything on the sand now. Why? So he can cling to his job.
Good to have you.
Yes, all right. Good to have you. Thanks so much.